House of the Dragon has made a mistake with Daeron Targaryen. They have waited entirely too long to formally introduce this character to the audience. So as it concerns Daeron Targaryen in the show, I'm making this video after the release of episode 4 of season 3, and regardless of how season 3 plays out, my opinion is not going to change here. Waiting to get Daeron formally introduced to your audience midway through your second to last season is a mistake. And yet, I think this was one of the greatest examples of efficient storytelling in the entire show. Let me try and make that make sense. In one single episode, I feel like Daeron immediately fills a void that has been left for the Greens. Not just a nuanced character, but a character who your audience may actually cheer for. The Greens lacked a sympathetic figure who wasn't currently broken, mutilated, or a cartoonish villain. Daeron feels like an eventual player, someone who will have a significant impact on the Targaryen Civil War. As soon as Daeron is introduced, and within the context of his relationship with Ormond Hightower, he immediately feels necessary. And when you add the complex dynamic he has with Ormond Hightower, even if it's an obvious trajectory for the character to ultimately confront, overrule, or eventually even kill Ormond, it creates an anticipation that I think could have lasted in a compelling way all the way back since season 1 when we met all of Alicent and Rhaenyra's children. I think the showrunner's original plan was likely to have Daeron's arc play out entirely across season 3, but that roadmap was derailed by external factors when the season 2 order was slashed from 10 episodes to 8, and because of the writer's strike, they just weren't allowed to rewrite the scripts to account for this change, meaning the narrative beats meant for the end of season 2 were never produced, and instead, those 2 episodes were effectively glued onto the front of season 3. But even with that said, I still think Daeron should have and could have been introduced much earlier in this show. And I can acknowledge the Game of Thrones universe has given us tremendously memorable characters who only existed in one single season, like Oberyn Martell in season 4 of Game of Thrones, both Robert and Ned back in season 1 of Game of Thrones, Viserys here in the first season of House of the Dragon. These are all really good examples of a character giving the story exactly what it needed in only a single season. However, those situations are very different. Each one of those characters' short stay on the screen was a narrative necessity for the bigger story. Oberyn introduced the Dorne plot. Granted, Game of Thrones didn't actually do the Dorne plot. Robert, Ned, and Viserys, their deaths were all catalysts for the bigger story overall. Now, Daeron and Ormond both shouldn't be single season characters. Instead, they both should be characters that at the very least have been looming in the background. Ormond as a villain for the Blacks, and Daeron as a sympathetic protagonist for the Greens. I mean, when you think about Daeron as the youngest brother or the youngest dragon rider for the Greens, he's your least likely to be victorious. In a way, it's kind of a come-from-behind story or an underdog narrative because of what the stakes are. I mean, at this point in the story, Aegon has been mutilated and Aemond has been severely injured. Rhaenyra has captured King's Landing. So Daeron can truly feel like the last shred of hope for the Greens. But ask yourself, doesn't it feel a bit contrived that a character you've never even seen until halfway through the second to last season suddenly becomes the most important member of the Greens immediately upon his introduction? Shouldn't we at least have met him and just get a little bit more understanding of what he's all about? And then the same goes for Ormond Hightower. They're framing him as a significant threat to Rhaenyra's cause, and Rhaenyra's as clueless about Ormond as the audience. I mean, he's the Lord of Oldtown. He's taken Prince Daeron Targaryen and his dragon Targaryen to ward. And as an audience, we're just supposed to take that information and the impact that these characters could have on the war and just absorb that in a single episode, and regardless of what consequences they have on the story moving forward, they just didn't really earn this for these characters. But what's even crazier is that they did so good in this one single episode that a lot of audiences seem to have an okay to good opinion of their introductory episode, because it really was efficient in introducing both of them. Look, if they were just going to be some here today, gone tomorrow characters, then this isn't a big deal. But the show frames both Daeron and Ormond as crucial players in the story. Like, they framed Ormond especially as almost like a Ramsay Bolton type of villain, like that kind of vibe. Think about it like this. If Daeron or Ormond die at the end of season 3, we'll feel like we lost characters that we just met. Especially Ormond will feel that a threat we barely understand has been eliminated. A lot of people praise Battle of the Bastards as far as a narrative climax. Would it be as impactful if we only just met Ramsay like 3 episodes before he died? And for Daeron, if he dies, it'd be like Robb Stark being introduced to the audience just like a few episodes before the Red Wedding. And, what if they're in-game characters? I actually think that would be even worse, because then I really don't even know why we waited this long to introduce these characters. These characters showed in one episode that they deserve to be introduced a lot sooner. As far as book fans, if these characters were introduced back in season 1 and they were completely changed from the books, but we've gotten to this point so far, think about all the other things book fans have already accepted up to this point. If they're still on board, if they're still watching, you've accepted a lot. I've accepted a lot as a book reader. The changes they've made to Daeron, we would have accepted by now. We would probably still be complaining about it, but we'd already know about them. It'd already be built in. I think these are good characters. I think Daeron's a good character. Ormond's an interesting character. He's a little one note right now as far as like just a clear-cut villain. That might be okay. I just think these guys should have been on screen. Just introduce them sooner. We should have met them back in season 1 with the rest of Rhaenyra's children. Or, I'm not really sure when you introduce Ormond. It could have been a small couple minutes here and there. It's sprinkled throughout season 1. You know what sucks? Is I'm looking over my notes here, and I get these comments that tell me I'm too negative for this video. I really can't blame you. I just think about everything I just said into this microphone, and believe it or not, I actually started this video out thinking it would all come across as a compliment. I guess I missed the mark on that.